I am Samina Tariq and our today's recipe is for vegetable bhujiya. In this recipe, I'm using frozen vegetables. The reason is they're frozen fresh and they're convenient to use because you don't have to do any washing or chopping and you can just directly add them to the masala sauce. And I'll start this recipe with a list of ingredients. I'm using frozen vegetables, which is pack of mixed frozen vegetables, and I'm using about 300 grams of it. If you want to use the fresh ones, you can always use them, but they're gonna need about 1 to 1.5 cup of water for cooking the vegetables. Frozen vegetables, they don't need any water adding. I have one finely chopped onion here. I have few cloves of garlic and some ginger here. Brown mustard seeds, ground garam masala, kalonji seeds, dried chili flakes, dry coriander, dry methi leaves, turmeric powder, red chili powder, salt, and some cooking oil. Some bay leaves, some garnishing ingredient, which is chopped coriander and few mint leaves, and 1 or 2 tomatoes which are blanched and chopped, and I have some butter here. So we start by adding a little oil. We can add the butter at this stage or we can add it later on. I'm just adding it. In goes the bay leaves and the mustard seeds, kalonji seeds, and I'm just going to top it with the onion. We need to lightly fry and golden brown the onions. After a few minutes of stir frying the onion, I'm adding the garlic and the ginger. And I'm also going to add the seasoning. So 1 level teaspoon of salt and level teaspoon red chili powder, kalonji seeds, just half a teaspoon of red chili flakes, 1 teaspoon of dry methi leaves, and half a teaspoon of turmeric. After mixing it, I'm adding the tomatoes. At this stage you can add a little water or just let the tomatoes dissolve before you can add the vegetables to it. But I'm just adding just a tiny splash of water to it. So I'm just going to add our vegetables to it. We don't need a smooth sauce for this kind of vegetables. After a few minutes of stir frying, I'm going to cover it. I'm going to let it cook in its own water. I have an optional ingredient here, which is 3 to 4 Charlotte potatoes, which are peeled and cut. You can always use the King Edward or the floury potatoes, but add them towards the end. These ones, they need a bit more cooking time, so I'm just adding them now. Because Charlotte and some other firm texture potatoes, they take slight water for cooking. As the vegetables are also releasing some water, but I may gonna have to add a tiny splash of water to cook these potatoes. If I had used King Edward or floury potatoes, they were just gonna cook with the vegetables. So I'm just going to cover and leave them on low heat with a wee little splash of water. Our vegetables are cooked nicely. I'm just checking the potatoes and they're quite soft and tender. Just going to garnish it with some fresh herbs and pinch of ground garam masala. I'm just going to give it a stir and we're ready for serving. So here's our mixed vegetable. It can be used for filling for a lot of things also, but I'm going to serve it with some naan bread here, and it's really nice with plain rice or vegetable rice also.